We set chairs for 150, thinking maybe we'd have 40 people here. I think we far exceeded that, beyond our expectations. The good Lord has blessed us with yet another glorious day. The activity that has transpired here over the previous 24 to 48 hours has been nothing short of miraculous. And as a testament to the hard work and all the efforts that have gone in over the past 18 months to make this day come, I believe with the attendance here to start this service, to start this ceremony, I'm just amazed at the support and just the dignity, the honor that's been shown by all of our community. And that shows 100-fold here. So thank you. So we'll begin our service with the posting of colors, and I would ask all of you to please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who are with us here today. As our purpose is to help our fellow citizens, and especially those who have served this nation with honor in time of conflict, and to promote all that serves well our communities and our state and our nation. So we pray that you will enlighten our minds with a clear vision of your will for us, inspire our determination to follow that vision of your will in our deliberations, and strengthen our hands in all of our undertakings. May we inspire and enrich the lives of our fellow citizens. May the dedication offered here on this day be a source of strength in our communities, that all of our work may bear fruit worthy of our ideals and our aspirations under your guidance, and all that is holy in your name. Amen. Behind me on this day stands the Wall of Honor. 58,282 names who have suffered tragic loss of life during the war in Vietnam. 58,282 names who all belong to a loved one. Their lives were tragically cut short on a battlefield far away, leaving behind family members and friends who still to this day struggle. We have no answers that are right. We have many more questions than we'll ever have answers. With this day, we honor this wall. This is the opening ceremony. I thank all of you for attending, and we hope that over the course of the next few days you will come back, look up names on the wall, friends, family, spend time here as much as you possibly can, and enjoy this moment. There are only so moments in a lifetime where you'll see this type of a setting, and we are hoping that with all of the hard work that's been put in over the course of the 18 months previous, that this will come to fruition. And as I mentioned, your attendance here today shows overwhelming support. When this project came about approximately 18 months ago, it was initiated in conversation during the Elks Lodge Medal of Valor honor for a young warrior named by Caleb Erickson, Corporal Caleb Erickson, United States Marine Corps, killed on 28 February of 2014. The Elks Lodge was honoring his family for their sacrifice, and through the end of that program, Mrs. Virginia Van Sluis initiated the conversation about the possibility of bringing the Vietnam Wall to Faribault. And during that conversation, she had inquired if that had been considered in the past. And as an American Legion member of VFW, we had talked about it, but we were never able to get a concerted effort to get it off the ground due to the massive undertaking that it is in terms of the volunteerism and the amount of effort that it takes to bring the wall in. So from the onset, the commitment has been extremely dedicated by all the members and all of our volunteers who have stepped forth to help bring this and make this moment happen. Virginia, although she wishes no fanfare upon herself, has been the absolute driving factor behind the scenes, under the radar, to make this day happen. Ladies and gentlemen, Virginia Van Sluis.
It's a tremendous honor to be here today, and I'm humbled to have been part of a project that spanned, as Kirk said, over a year and a half from the start to today. I want to welcome our honored guests, and I apologize if I miss anybody's name. I want to say thank you, Galen Bungum, for coming from Hayfield to honor us with your presence, and his wife, Marcia. Thank you, Mary Danielson Gates, for coming, and you brought your sons. Thank you. Helen Gunnis Peterson, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And Helen Eastman Liv, thank you. Vietnam was a long, costly conflict that pitted communist regime of North Vietnam with its southern allies known as the Viet Cong against the southern Vietnam and its principal ally, the United States. It was a controversial war from the first involvement, increasingly unpopular at home, and ended with the withdrawal of the U.S. forces in 1973, with the unification of Vietnam under communist control 2 years later. During the war years of 1967 through 1969, 200 American service members were killed each week. At the peak of the war in 1969, more than 543 soldiers were involved in that battle. We're here today to honor those who fought in Vietnam and to pay tribute to those who gave their lives and whose names are etched on the wall for all eternity. The wall not only pays tribute to those fallen soldiers, but it is a reminder of time in our country's history of conflict and a time that shaped our national consciousness. The war spanned the term of 4 presidents. It saw a nation divided as to whether we should be involved, with demonstrations, protests taking place in every major city and on most campuses across the nation. The war was one of the most painful chapters in the history of our country, particularly how the general public treated the troops and the soldiers when they returned home from serving in Vietnam. Those who served in Vietnam were often blamed for a war they did not start, when you should have been commended for serving your country with valor. They were sometimes blamed for misdeeds of a few, when the honorable service of many should have been praised. They came home and sometimes were denigrated when they should have been celebrated. It was a national shame and a disgrace that should have never happened in our country. Many of the soldiers who returned did not come home to victory parades and kisses in Times Square. Most were just other passengers aboard a chartered airliner or aboard an Air Force cargo plane. Countless were dumped unceremoniously at some military base in the middle of the night. In public, they were referred to as baby killers or warmongers, not heroes. Countless soldiers suffered and still do have effects of PTSD. It has taken a long time for many of those who fought and returned home to talk about their time in Vietnam. Many were haunted by what they saw, what they experienced, or what they had to do to stay alive. Most never mentioned their time in Vietnam to their friends or to their loved ones. For all of those who came back, their love for their families still lives. Their love for their buddies on the battlefield and their friends who come back home lives. And their love for their country lives despite what they went through. And that's why we are here today, to resolve that the behavior shown to the Vietnam soldiers will never happen to any soldier again, especially those who go into combat for our country. The mystery of the actual wall in Washington, D.C. is found in the majestic simplicity of it. Panels of black granite stone that hold not only names of those lost, but hold their life. But it also mirrors it like a finish, the faces of those who witness its solemn statement. Consumed by images behind the names of young men and women, their lives cut short, their personal sacrifices often unrecorded, their unselfishness to service, unflinching courage, and unique love and caring that is shared by their comrades in arms. One may say that the heroes are the brave men and women whose names are etched on the walls, but in reality, all Vietnam veterans and those who served during that era are heroes. This display of the AVTT Wall, Vietnam Wall, in faribault over the next 5 days will provide an opportunity to reflect on this important part of our nation's history. Those who worked long and hard to bring this tribute to the community, and we hope that it serves and soothes the deep scars of those who carry heavy memories, and for those who have any guilt for having been the ones fortunate enough to return to their families and friends. On behalf of the core team, I will say to all who served in the military during that era, and especially those who served in combat zone of Vietnam, thank you for your service. Thank you for the sacrifices you made, and it is my privilege to say to each of you, welcome home.
Good afternoon. I'm Ruth Mickelson, and I'd like to read a short poem today. It's called We Remember You. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember you. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember you. In the opening of buds and in the warmth of summer, we remember you. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, in the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember you. We remember you as long as we live. You shall live too, for you are a part of us as we remember you. Now I'd like to introduce retired veteran Gunny Sergeant Doug Truman.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, my fellow servicemen and women, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Douglas L. Truman. I'm a retired gunnery sergeant, United States Marine Corps. My tour in Vietnam began in May 1968 and ended in June of '69. I was assigned to the 1st Amphibious Tank Battalion, which was located in Qua Viet, Vietnam. The base was located at the mouth of the Qua Viet River going into the Gulf of Tonkin, approximately 10 miles north of Quang Tri and only approximately 6 miles from the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, which separated North and South Vietnam. The only means of transportation to get to my base was by riverboat, which we happen to have one over here. And I can remember fondly going up this river that was probably about the size of the cannon, with the sailors in front throwing concussion grenades over the front to make sure that they could get rid of the mines before the mines got us. So arriving at Tank Battalion headquarters, my tour duty in Vietnam began. My basic job was keeping all the Marine Corps records for the servicemen. The next 12 months was filled with doing the duties. During these 12 months, I remember sitting at the desk, and all of a sudden everybody would, the clerks and things would start getting up and booming out the door. And I would be sitting there going, what are we doing? And then pretty soon I'd hear the sound of a mortar round coming in, and then you knew you better get under some cover. It didn't take me long to figure that out, and somehow, with God's help, you become aware of that sound that happens when that mortar leaves that round in North Vietnam and comes to the south, and you just kind of get up, walk out, grab whatever you want with you, and sit in the bunker and wait. This was, with the mortar rounds coming in, the most frustrating of all this was that there was no set time any day. It was mornings, afternoon, evenings, just enough to interrupt your daily routine and everything. I also helped with the guard duty of the base. I'd watch the radios and be sitting there in the bunker, and I remember that some of the guys out on the post would say, "Oh, I think I see movement." Well, we were supposed to call in to higher headquarters to get permission to shoot a flare up in the sky so we could see what was out there. But needless to say, next morning I was doing a lot of tap dances in front of my commanding officer for not calling first. My main concern was my men, and so I just told them to go ahead and fire the flare and we'll go from there. But there was a lot of mornings I went back up to the CO and did tap dances in front, trying to explain why I did what I did. When you were in Vietnam, you got like a 5-day, what they call rest and recuperation, and I took mine. I went to Hawaii with to see my wife and that, and came back. And when I came back, I noticed that across the river was looked like a battalion of Marines and soldiers and stuff. And I later found, I was asking about that, what they were doing there, and I was told that that was their R&R. They're at the Qua Viet River that ran into the Gulf of Tonkin. My last month in Vietnam, I spent at Da Nang. I was there. The 1st Amtrak Battalion disbanded. While I was at Da Nang, I found out that the base that I was at got hit on June 19th, 21, and 24. And as a result of that hit, we lost 104,000 gallons of petroleum, and some, I think there was like 15 to 20 individuals that were KIA'd at that one. I've pledged now that I will do everything in my power to ensure that any serviceman or woman is truly welcomed back with open arms and a heartfelt thank you for continuing our freedom that we all enjoy today. And with the turnout that we've got today and what we had yesterday coming in, escorting the wall in from Owatonna, I can see that that day has arrived, and it's better arrived for every serviceman and woman. I thank you. God bless you.
So for the next portion of our program, you may have noticed coming in, we have 2 fields of honor. These white crosses here, and also another set behind the crowd here. Each field of honor represents killed in action, military members whose lives were tragically cut short. This small field of honor here consists of 38 names from the surrounding 6-county area. Minnesotans sacrificed 1,073 individuals during Vietnam. These 38 that are represented represent all 1,073. So please take a moment at the end of the program or over the course of the next 5 days to visit each of these individuals. The field of honor behind you consists of 100 Minnesotans who have been killed in action since 9/11 in Iraq and Afghanistan. Over the course of the next few days, many of these Gold Star families will be with us. As we stand here at this very moment, young men and women are scattered across this globe, and they're facing an extremely determined enemy that has no value for life, and they are offering up nothing in return in terms of furthering and making this a better world. Our young men and women that face these hardships on a daily basis, their sacrifice is massive, and their families that remain on the home front cringe at the moment of every single phone call, every unknown visitor. The wars for them are real. As we go about our daily business here with whatever priority we have for each day, whether it be attending sporting events or shopping or spending time at the lake or spending time in your fishing boat or as you spend time with your family, all that any veteran or active duty service member would ever ask is that you take one moment of that day to remember and honor their sacrifice and the sacrifice of their families that remain on the home front. Please let that burn in real deep. No matter your priority for each day, please, I beg of you, take one moment of each day and remember and honor that sacrifice. United States Naval Aviator, active duty serviceman, Commander Brian Danielson.
I'd like to let the vets sit. I'm going to summarize this and close real quick. Kirk, you know how much I respect you and everything that you're doing, especially if you knew how much I hate wearing this particular uniform. I love wearing the uniform of my country, but this particular one is not my favorite. So if anyone asks me for an ice cream cone, I can't guarantee. I will handle that favorably. But I'm here in a couple capacities, and I hope to serve that well today, and leave you with something to remember. My experience from Vietnam is slightly different. I didn't serve in Vietnam, obviously. You may think I might have been old enough. I hope you don't. But my father was listed as missing in action from Laos when I was 1 year old. I had that experience to grow up with. And then 10 years ago, I was able to go back to Laos with a team of 15 Army, Air Force, Marines, and fellow Navy members to go dig and try and find the remains of my father. So this is the perspective I'm trying to give you today. One of the days, about halfway through, I was allowed to go meet the local villagers because we'd been sitting there on our hands and knees digging through the clay with our hands with fellow Laotians. The moment was not lost on me, the ability of the fact that I was getting to do that. And when I met the Laotians for lunch, they said, "We only look forward, we don't look past." And it was a very important moment because I can only imagine some of the heartbreaks that they've had from their Vietnam experience. But I like the way we do it better. We look forward, but we remember the past. And why is that? Because when I look at Vietnam and my personal experience with Vietnam, I could look back and I could focus on the pain, the frustration, and the tough things that happened. And for my fellow brothers, my Vietnam vet that I like to call brothers or maybe I call them fathers, but I look to them as such. But I could focus on that if I wanted to, but I'd be missing the point. And nothing bothers me more than when people talk about Vietnam as a waste, or they deal with it in negative connotations because of what's happened in between. I was left with what to deal with in between. And what I'm left with is a country that I love very much, that honors our sacrifices, that has communities that bond together to honor sacrifices and to ensure that those sacrifices aren't forgotten, and also to ensure that those left behind are not forgotten. I never thought in my life that I would know what happened to my father, that we would find his remains, that we would bring him back home. But thank God, due to people all like you and this local community, we were able to do that. And if any one of you are there, you understand how important that is and the importance of remembering that sacrifice. And because of that, I'm more adamant than I was before that we still have people left behind, that we don't forget them. So this community, Kenyon, Faribault, Wanamingo, Owatonna, all of you who helped us and held us in your graces during that time, that shows the strength of our country. It shows the strength of community, and that is resident today. And that's why I'm proud to be here in this uniform. Either I'd rather have a flight suit. But it makes me proud to be this uniform and say that I did my part as well. So the healing is obviously important to all of us, but it's resident in the symbol of this wall. And I hope that those of you who carry that are allowed to have a little bit of that today, because you deserve it. So we're going to talk about what we deserve. And as an active duty, I don't like getting things I don't deserve. As a Lutheran Norwegian, I don't like getting things I don't deserve. It's not a comfortable feeling for me. But every time I get a thank you for your service, every time I get a welcome home, it's hard to accept because I didn't deserve it. If you see these old guys here, they're the ones that deserve it. So please take a moment and use it today as a means to say thank you for your service and welcome home. That's why we're here today. We talk about the greatest generation, but let's talk about a generation that fought a war that was not possible, that was not popular. They did it anyways. They believed what they were doing. They did the best that they could. They did exceptionally well, and they will never get the recognition that they deserve. That's what freedom means to me, and I'm very proud that I get to be a part of that. Thank you very much. Thank you, vets, and welcome home, vets.
58,282 names on the wall behind me. These names are not in alphabetical order. Unless you have prior knowledge, they're extremely difficult to locate if you're looking for one specific name. They are in order, casualty, date. Starting at the apex at the 8-foot center, working your way to the east from 1959 onward, out to the end, wrapping back around, full circle, ending in the center through 1975. Please, I beg of you, take the time, one moment of each day, if nothing more, to honor and remember the sacrifice that is so real for so many.